Your four favorites are Lady in the Water, Megalopolis, Terrifier 2, and Legally Blonde. My top choice for you is the house that Jack built. Like Megalopolis, the main character is an architect, but he's also a violent serial killer like Art the Clown in Terrifier 2. Like Lady in the Water, David Bowie is on the soundtrack. And like Legally Blonde, the protagonist is often underestimated and is trying to prove themselves. Jennifer's Body is a cult horror film like Terrifier 2. Like Lady in the Water and Megalopolis, it was poorly received upon its release. And like Legally Blonde, it's a comedy about female friendship. Since you're a fan of Megalopolis, I highly recommend checking out Megadoc. This documentary made me appreciate Megalopolis more, and Metropolis was one of Coppola's inspirations for Megalopolis. Southland Tales is a bizarre fantasy film like Lady in the Water, but it's also a highly ambitious sci-fi film set in the future like Megalopolis. It gained a cult following like the Terrifier films, and it's also a comedy like Legally Blonde. And fun fact, Ali Larder, who played Brooke in Legally Blonde, was originally supposed to be in this film. I get the feeling you'd like Cloud Atlas. Like Lady in the Water, it's a divisive but deeply sincere fantasy. Like Megalopolis, it's a sprawling, highly ambitious sci-fi epic. Like Terrifier 2, there's at least one murder in it. And like Legally Blonde, it's about self-actualization and the impact that kindness can have. The Neon Demon, like Legally Blonde, follows a young blonde woman navigating a highly competitive world where she's judged by her appearance. And the director said he envisioned this film as an adult fairy tale, and Lady in the Water is a fairy tale. Like Terrifier 2, it's a horror film with some graphic violence. And like Megalopolis, it's an ambitious visual spectacle that wasn't well received by critics, but some people really love it. Showgirls also follows a blonde woman navigating a highly competitive environment where she's constantly objectified like Legally Blonde. Like Megalopolis and Lady in the Water, it's a Razzie Award winner. And like Terrifier 2, it thrives on excess, just a different type of excess. Also, there's literally a lady in the water in this movie. Under the Silver Lake has that modern mythic storytelling like Lady in the Water, and similarly involves a mysterious woman in a pool. And it involves conspiracies like Megalopolis. And like both of those films, this movie garnered some very divisive reactions. Like Terrifier 2, it involves a killer. And like Legally Blonde, it's about how you can't judge something by appearances. Elle Woods is underestimated because of how she looks, and this movie is set in Los Angeles and shows how there's something darker lurking beneath all the glitz and glamour. Death Becomes Her is a fantasy like Lady in the Water, but it's also a horror film like Terrifier 2. It's campy like Megalopolis, and like Legally Blonde, it's a female-fronted comedy about ambition and image. Braindead involves an unconventional creature like the Scrunt in Lady in the Water. It's a horror film with some over-the-top kills like Terrifier 2. Like Megalopolis, it's a maximalist spectacle. And like Legally Blonde, the protagonist is someone that other characters underestimate or treat poorly, so they kind of end up on this journey to prove people wrong. Cosmopolis, like Megalopolis, is set in the future and features some eccentric and stylized dialogue while serving as a statement about capitalism and power. And like Lady in the Water, Paul Giamatti's in it. Dick, like Legally Blonde, is about young blonde women who are underestimated because of their looks and upbeat personalities. And like Megalopolis, it's also a commentary on politics. Man Who Killed Don Quixote feels like a fairy tale style story like Lady in the Water. And one of the characters in Lady in the Water is a film critic, and this is a film about filmmaking. And like Megalopolis, it's an epic starring Adam Driver. But if I'm gonna recommend a Terry Gilliam movie, I should also include Brazil, because it's a sci-fi film set in a futuristic city like Megalopolis. Like Lady in the Water, it has an almost mythic quality to it and can sometimes feel a bit absurd. Like Terrifier 2, there's some grotesque imagery, albeit on a much smaller scale. And like Legally Blonde, it's a bit of an underdog story. Since Lady in the Water is a fairy tale about the love of storytelling, I also want to recommend The Fall, which coincidentally was released the same year. The Fountain has that sort of mythic, spiritual type of storytelling like Lady in the Water, and it's an epic sci-fi film like Megalopolis. Heathers is campy like Megalopolis, involves killing like Terrifier 2, and is about female friendships like Legally Blonde. Election, like Legally Blonde, is a comedy where Reese Witherspoon stars as an ambitious young woman. But if you want another legal comedy, I recommend My Cousin Vinny. Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar is a comedy about female friendship like Legally Blonde. One of the characters is a killer like in Terrifier 2. Like Megalopolis, it embraces its own eccentric logic with some slightly off-kilter or absurd dialogue. And the characters swim in pools and the ocean, so I guess you could say they're a couple of ladies in the water.